Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 311, This thing's actually a dragon-type Pokemon. Kieran carefully considered which Pokemon to send out next against Weevil. No matter what, he had to defeat this Weevil first. Mr. Dillon had said he would use Ogerpon in the battle, but at this rate, if he couldn't get past Weevil, he wouldn't even have a chance to see Ogerpon. Kieran really liked Ogerpon. Although Mr. Dillon had already captured it, at the very least, Kieran wanted to witness its power in battle. Porygon Z. Kieran finally made his decision and threw out his fourth Pokemon. A flash of white light, and a Pokemon that looked like a toy bird appeared in front of Kieran. Its body was red and blue, with its head detached from its torso. This was Porygon's final evolution, Porygon Z. Deep Porygon Z, Normal Type. Virtual Pokemon. Ability, Adaptability. Moves, Hyper Beam, Zep Cannon, Ice Beam, Tri-Attack, Discharge, Recover. Description. Programs were added to make it a better Pokemon, but for some reason, its behavior became increasingly erratic. This Porygon Z looked quite promising. Lily glanced at Kieran and suddenly realized, didn't her brother have all the same Pokemon as Kieran? The Politoed, Incineroar, Grimmsnarl, and now this Porygon Z. Her brother had raised all of them too. Well, that made sense. Her brother had so many Pokemon. But it also showed that Kieran had great taste. Every Pokemon he trained was outstanding. Quick Attack. Dillon took one look at the Porygon Z and took the initiative to strike. Trick Room. Kieran shouted decisively. Porygon Z raised its head, and a spatial cube began spinning and forming in front of it. Trick Room. Bang! Weevil slammed into Porygon Z with Quick Attack, making its body shudder. Focus Blast. The Trick Room expanded rapidly to cover the entire battlefield, warping the space around them. Weevil's right claw glowed blue. Focus Blast, a fighting-type move. Boom! Focus Blast struck Porygon Z in the chest, sending it flying with a cry of pain. Focus Blast, being fighting-type, was super effective against Porygon Z. It dealt massive damage. Return, Porygon Z. Kieran immediately recalled Porygon Z with its Pokeball. So that's it, using Trick Room? That way, Weevil's high speed actually becomes a disadvantage. Lily looked at the battlefield now cloaked in strange space. She had thought Kieran planned to paralyze Weevil with Thunder Wave once it got close. Paralysis would have drastically reduced Weevil's speed and caused occasional inability to act, but Trick Room worked just as well. Trick Room, a psychic-type move, created a bizarre space in which slower Pokemon moved first while faster ones were hindered. Such was the strange power of this move. Hydrapple. You're up. Kieran tossed out his fifth Pokeball, and a giant apple thudded to the ground in front of him. Then a thick, green, worm-like body rose from the apple, and 6 smaller apple worms emerged, hissing at Weevil before quickly retreating back inside. This was Hydrapple, the final evolution of Applin. Deep Hydrapple. Grass/Dragon type. Apple Hydra Pokemon. Ability, Sweet Nectar. Moves, Dragon Pulse, Power Whip, Substitute, Energy Ball, Recover, Syrup Bomb, Terra Burst. Description, formed by the gathering of moody applins. When they are of one mind, they unleash their true power. This thing's actually a dragon type. Lon couldn't help but comment after reading the Pokédex. Dragon types sure were full of bizarre creatures, this one even had apple in its name. But Hydrapple being grass and dragon means it's 4x weak to ice. Lily looked puzzled. Why would Kieran use Hydrapple against Weevil? Even if Trick Room had reversed their speed, Hydrapple was still 4x weak to ice-type moves. Hydrapple is Kieran's ace Pokemon. It's incredibly powerful. Don't forget about terrestrialization, Lily. Lacey reminded her. Hydrapple might have a major ice weakness, but terastallization could change that. Oh, right. Lily blinked, then remembered. Blueberry Academy was all about terastallization, and since Kieran was now their strongest trainer, he surely had mastered it. Mr. Dillon, this is my strongest Pokemon, Kieran said solemnly to Dillon. Hydrapple was undoubtedly his trump card. Please bear witness. Kieran pulled out a black Terra orb, which began glowing brightly. He hurled it at Hydrapple with force. Terastallize. Hydrapple's entire body glowed brilliantly, shimmering like a crystal gemstone. With the sound of shattering crystal, terastallized Hydrapple emerged, glowing and adorned with the fighting Terra symbol above its head. A fighting Terra type, huh? Dillon examined this terastallized Hydrapple. It had the same Terra type as in Kieran's game version. With fighting Terra, it now countered ice types and was no longer weak to them. That's what made terastallization so powerful. It reversed type disadvantages, especially useful for Pokemon like Hydrapple with 4x weaknesses. Hydrapple, charge! Kieran gave the command without hesitation. Trick Room had a time limit. He had to defeat Weevil before it ended. Hydrapple hissed as it dragged its apple forward at surprising speed under the effects of Trick Room. Dragon Pulse. Hydrapple opened its mouth wide, and several smaller apple worms emerged, charging up energy. Dragon-type Dragon Pulse. When multiple heads fired together, the beam's power doubled. Several pulses merged into one thick laser that shot toward Weevil. Weevil leapt backward to dodge, but under Trick Room, its normally agile body now felt sluggish and heavy. Boom! The powerful Dragon Pulse struck Weevil's previous position, exploding violently, and the shockwave still hit Weevil. Weevil grunted, forced into another retreat, but as it looked up again, Hydrapple was already right in front of it. Icicle Crash. Dillon raised an eyebrow at the sight. Weevil slashed its right claw, summoning giant icicles from the air and launching them at Hydrapple. Pollen Puff. Kieran countered. Hydrapple roared and fired a green energy sphere toward Weevil. Bug-type Pollen Puff. Boom! The icicles slammed into Hydrapple, making it cry out in pain. But at the same time, Pollen Puff hit Weevil squarely, exploding and sending it flying. Bug-type moves were super effective against Weevil, and the damage was high. Terra Burst. Kieran ordered a follow-up strike. Icicle Crash didn't counter a now fighting-type Hydrapple, and with its solid defense, Hydrapple had taken the hit well. Hydrapple charged its mouth with Terra energy, forming a massive energy fist and fired it at Weevil, fighting-type Terra Burst. Protect. Weevil couldn't take a 4x effective Terra Burst. It would be a one-hit KO. Gritting its teeth, Weevil raised a protective shield. Boom! Terra Burst smashed into the shield and exploded, but it didn't break through. Dragon Pulse. Hydrapple surged forward again, gathering energy in its mouth. It was waiting for Protect to wear off. Quick Attack. As soon as Protect faded, Weevil bolted away, dodging Dragon Pulse. Don't rush. Kieran stayed calm. Even with Trick Room making Hydrapple faster, Weevil's quick attack still gave it great mobility. Bang! Weevil suddenly appeared behind Hydrapple and slammed into it. Terra Burst. Aerial Ace. Hydrapple whipped around, energy building once more. But Weevil leapt up and spun around, cloaked in white wind energy. Flying-type Aerial Ace. Pow! The strike hit Hydrapple's head, making it cry out. Flying was strong against fighting. This hit was solid. But a moment later, Terra Burst launched, smashing straight into Weevil. Weevil was blasted away by the exploding energy fist, crashing hard into the ground. Weevil is unable to battle. Hydrapple wins, Lon declared. Well done, Kieran. Carmine was thrilled for her brother. A 4x effective Terra Burst, there was no way Weevil could survive that. Terra fighting was a brilliant move. Nicely done. That Trick Room was clever. Dillon recalled Weevil and clapped for Kieran. Trick Room was a very niche move. Few used it, as it only altered speed for a short time and didn't directly raise power. But often, battles were lost simply due to lack of speed. Without Trick Room shifting the speed dynamic, Hydrapple would have had a hard time ever landing a hit on Weevil. Just like Grimmsnarl earlier, beaten by Weevil's speed and agility. Kieran, you've really grown strong. Dylan pulled out a crimson luxury ball, genuinely impressed not just by Kieran's strength, but by his tactical mind. Coming up with Trick Room to counter Weevil mid-battle showed sharp awareness. Then next up, just as we promised. The luxury ball in his hand expanded. Kieran, are you ready? Yes, Mr. Dylan. Kieran's eyes glowed with excitement, though he kept his emotions in check and responded solemnly. That long pass down Oni. Very good, then, Dylan chuckled softly and threw out his fifth Pokemon. Ogerpon. Prepare for battle. Chapter 312, You Should Go to Alola. Ogerpon, prepare for battle. Okay. The luxury ball opened, and Ogerpon landed in front of Dylan, taking out the teal mask and placing it on her face. Ogerpon. Kieran instinctively clenched his fists, excitement and anticipation lighting up his eyes as he stared at Ogerpon. The legendary evil spirit of Kitakami, the one said to have defeated the Loyal Three in ancient times. Although the villagers of Mo Sway Town feared and shunned this ghost, Kieran was different. He admired the power it represented. Unfortunately, Ogerpon had been captured by Mr. Dylan. Still, Kieran didn't mind. Dylan was so powerful. Kieran might envy him, but he didn't feel jealous. And now, he was finally going to experience Ogerpon's strength firsthand. Mr. Dylan, please don't hold back. Kieran said seriously. Oh. I see. Dylan paused, then smiled in understanding. Then let's go all out, okay. Okay. Ogerpon let out a low cry. To the astonishment of Carmine and the others, her entire body began to shine with dazzling crystal light terastallization. What? Carmine gasped, covering her mouth in shock. She wasn't surprised that Ogerpon could terastallize. After all, any Pokemon could do that. What stunned her was that Dylan hadn't used a Terra Orb at all. Auto-terastallization? Lacey blinked her big eyes. That's right. Ogerpon doesn't need my brother to use a Terra Orb, she can terastallize on her own, Lily said, her smile radiant. The terastallization didn't last long. With a crisp sound of crystal shattering, a massive, ornate, and radiant mask appeared. Behind it stood Ogerpon's body, glowing with Terra light. Bathed in the mask's brilliance, Ogerpon's speed increased. This is a unique terastallization exclusive to Ogei. Kieran, come, let me see how you plan to deal with it. Dylan raised his arm and gestured for Kieran to make his move. Hydrapple. Dragon Pulse. Kieran's chest rose and fell rapidly, his emotions surging. But he forced himself to stay calm and called out loudly to Hydrapple. Hydrapple roared. Several applins emerged from the apple, combining with the main body to build up energy. The enhanced Dragon Pulse shot toward Ogerpon at high speed. Barbed Vine Staff, Dylan said with a faint smile. Ogerpon raised her right hand, and a thorny staff entwined with green vines appeared. With a sweep of her left arm, the massive teal mask shifted aside. Boom! Ogerpon brought the vine staff down hard on the incoming Dragon Pulse, unleashing a thunderous explosion. The Dragon Pulse was completely shattered by the vine staff, its scattered energy dispersing in a violent shockwave. Quick attack! A flash of white light burst behind Ogerpon. She shot toward Hydrapple like lightning. Trick Room was nearly over, but still in effect, so Ogerpon had to use a priority move like Quick Attack to close the gap. Hydrapple! Bang! Before Kieran could finish his warning, Ogerpon had already slammed into Hydrapple. Play rough! Pollen Puff! Pink fairy energy wrapped around Ogerpon's limbs as she pounced on Hydrapple and launched a relentless assault. Fairy-type Play Rough. Under the barrage, Hydrapple howled in pain. The pollen puff gathering in its mouth completely dissipated. Bang! With one final punch, Ogerpon sent Hydrapple flying. It crashed heavily to the ground. When they looked again, Hydrapple's main body, the Applin, was clearly unable to battle, and its terastallization faded. Fighting Terra Hydrapple was weak to Fairy. That play rough from Ogerpon was too much for it to handle. Hydrapple is unable to battle. Ogerpon wins. Lon announced the result. The match had ended almost shockingly fast. So strong. Carmine stared in disbelief at the crystal-clear Ogerpon. So this was the power of the legendary ghost? Kieran's ace Hydrapple had been defeated so easily. Ogi's power is second only to a certain tier. Among my brother's main team, she's still at the top, Lily said without surprise. Aside from the highest level legends, Ogerpon was Dylan's strongest Pokemon without a doubt. Even Darkrai or Zapdos couldn't compare. That tier, which tier exactly? Carmine wanted to ask but decided not to. Lacey, however, seemed to understand. She remembered those Pokemon that once made her brute bonnet tremble and went quiet. On the battlefield. After defeating Hydrapple, Ogerpon waved her arm. The crystal teal mask floated back in front of her, pulsing like a living thing. Return, Hydrapple. You did great. Even though Hydrapple had been defeated easily, Kieran didn't blame it. He took a deep breath. I expected this, but still, it's really strong. Kieran stared at that glowing, green evil mask and took out another Pokeball. Porygon Z. He sent out Porygon Z once again. By now, the strange spatial distortion on the field had ended, Trick Room was over. Ice Beam. Kieran immediately gave the order. Porygon Z began charging a pale blue energy orb in front of it. Power Whip. Ogerpon stomped the ground and growled. Vines burst from beneath and wove into a massive whip, lashing downward at Porygon Z. Ice Beam clashed with the whip, but only for a moment. Power Whip shattered the beam and kept going. Boom! The massive vine struck Porygon Z hard, slamming it into the battlefield. The entire ground trembled violently, dust and debris billowing up. Kieran's heart skipped. His Porygon Z had incredible special attack, but it had been overpowered just like that. Ogerpon waved her hand, and the crystal teal mask stirred up a strong gust that blew the dust away. Porygon Z is unable to battle. Ogerpon wins. Lon announced again. They're not even on the same level. Lacey let out a sigh. From that exchange alone, it was clear there was a massive gap in strength. Even if Ogerpon had appeared back then, Kieran wouldn't have been able to capture her, Carmine said quietly after a pause. The stories from Kitakami had always suggested Ogerpon was powerful, but no one imagined she was this overwhelming. That's true, Lily said thoughtfully, tapping her chin. Even though Oge hadn't been caught by my brother back then, if today's Kieran had tried to catch her back then, he still wouldn't stand a chance. She remembered it vividly, Ogerpon entering terastallization on her own and obliterating Peachy and the others in a 1 vs 4 like a war god. Her power had been staggering. Lacey. Carmine. Back on the battlefield, Kieran still hadn't given up even though the gap in power was now painfully clear. But this was his promise with Dylan. If they hadn't made that agreement, he might not even have gotten the chance to battle Ogerpon. Even if he couldn't win, Kieran wouldn't surrender. His 6th Pokemon was Dragonite, but it didn't make a difference. Ogerpon's single play rough took Dragonite down instantly. And as for the frozen Politoed? That was even worse. Ogerpon used Power Whip once, the ice broke, sure, but Politoed ended up with spinning eyes. Politoed is unable to battle. Ogerpon wins. Challenger Kieran's 6 Pokemon are all unable to battle. The challenge is over. Lon declared the final result. Phew. Kieran recalled Politoed and let out a long sigh. Looking at the Pokeball in his hand, he felt a bit down, but also strangely at peace. Well done, Kieran. A gentle voice brought him back to his senses. Mr. Dylan. Kieran looked up to see Dylan approaching, Ogerpon beside him, her terastallization now gone. That was a great battle. I've said it before, but I'll say it again, you've really grown. You're a true man now. Dylan patted Kieran's shoulder with a warm smile. Thank you, Mr. Dylan. It's all thanks to your encouragement back then. Kieran bit his lip, then stepped back and bowed respectfully. No, Kieran, the most important thing is your own heart. Dylan chuckled softly. You had the will to persevere and grow. You unlocked your own potential. You've always been outstanding, I merely gave a bit of guidance. If you didn't already have the talent, you wouldn't have come this far. Dylan looked at Kieran as he spoke. Yes, it might sound harsh, but it was the truth. Kieran had become a champion-level trainer in such a short time because of his talent and potential. For someone of average talent, it simply wouldn't have been possible. Without you, Mr. Dylan, I might still be that timid Kieran. But Kieran shook his head. He knew his strength came from his own hard training, but without the determination to grow stronger, he wouldn't have come so far. Then I'll accept your thanks and give you this. Dylan didn't argue further. He took out a small ornate box and opened it in front of Kieran. This is the Ice-type Rota badge. Kieran, you've earned it. Kieran's eyes lit up at the sight of the badge. It was carved from icy blue gemstone in the shape of a snowflake, delicate and beautiful, almost glowing faintly. Wow! It's so pretty! Lacey came over and gasped at the badge's beauty. That snowflake design really was stunning. Mr. Dylan, Kieran had instantly fallen in love with the badge, but he still hesitated. Don't refuse. Take it, you deserve it. It's my recognition of you, Dylan said with a smile, placing the box in Kieran's hands. Take it, Kieran. Mr. Dylan doesn't give out badges lightly, Lacey urged him as well. All right. Thank you, Mr. Dylan. Kieran bowed again with sincere gratitude. You earned my approval. No thanks necessary, Dylan shook his head. A simple thank you wouldn't earn his badge. Kieran truly had what it took. The battle was over. Dylan gave the three of them a quick tour of the Rota gym before bringing them to the lounge. The year's almost over, soon it'll be a new year. Kieran, Miss Lacey, do you have any plans for next year? Dylan asked, sipping tea. I haven't graduated yet. But I plan to travel around Unova for a bit and try challenging the Unova League. Lacey tilted her head, thinking it over. She was currently a second year at Blueberry Academy. Next year, she'd be a third year. But staying at school too long didn't feel right. There were strong classmates to battle, sure, but not enough. She wasn't as gifted as Kieran, after all. Traveling is a good choice. You'll gain perspective, experience, and new partners. Dylan fully supported the idea. What about you, Kieran? I'm not sure yet, Kieran replied after a moment. He truly didn't know what to do next year. He was already champion level, staying at Blueberry Academy wasn't an option anymore. After all, it was just a school, his starting point, not his destination. Even though it had the Blueberry League, that wasn't the same as a regional league. In that case, how about I make a recommendation? Please do, Mr. Dylan. Go to the Alola region. You might just become champion. Dylan smiled at Kieran. Yes, the Alola League was still new, and it needed a champion-level trainer like Kieran. Chapter 313, Lance the Dragon Master. Alola region? Kieran was stunned. He was from Kitakami, and if he truly wanted to grow, staying in Kitakami wasn't an option. He had already reached the top of Blueberry Academy. Though he hadn't graduated yet, Kieran had no intention of staying there any longer. Kitakami was simply too small. In truth, the region had only Mosway Town and a few scattered villages, not even a proper city. In the game, Mosway is the only town. So, if he really wanted to expand his future, he would have to go elsewhere. Originally, Kieran had considered Unova or Paldea. In Unova, Alder's condition was well known, he was basically retired. Kieran was already champion level. If he improved further next year, taking the champion title in Unova wasn't out of reach. As for Paldea, while Gita, the top champion, was undeniably powerful, if Kiran could defeat her in the Elite Four, he would earn the champion title there as well.
Mr. Dillon, but Alola doesn't even have a league, right? Carmine frowned. Her little brother was so strong now.
As his sister, she was happy for him, though her feelings were complicated. Still, she genuinely hoped for Kiran to have a bright future.
Alola was indeed famous worldwide, but for being a tourist paradise. Without a Pokemon League, what was the point in going to Alola? Not quite.
The application to establish the Alola League has already been approved. It's expected to be formally founded by the end of this year or early next, Lily explained.
Really?
The three of them were surprised.
That's right. The approval came through a few days ago.
Kiran, for a trainer, becoming a league champion is the fastest way to make a name for yourself.
Dylan looked at Kiran seriously.
Compared to the established leagues, Alola is still a blank slate.
Everything has to start from scratch. That's exactly why now is the best time. If you go to Alola now, you'll have the greatest opportunity.
Kiran listened intently, his gaze flickering. He was tempted. You've got strength, talent, and most importantly, youth. Your future is wide open.
Honestly, no matter which region you go to, I think you'll accomplish great things. Dylan spoke highly of Kiran, deservedly so. In the world of trainers, strength ruled.
With Kiran's talent, another year of growth would put him among the best of the champion class.
But since the Alola League is just starting, if you go there now, the region's resources will be directed toward you.
I'm sure you understand what that means, Dylan continued.
What do you think, sis? Kiran hesitated and turned to Carmine.
Since finding his result, he rarely sought her opinion, but that was mostly because he'd been so focused on intense training and raising his team.
Well, Carmine looked torn. She agreed that Dylan wasn't wrong. Her brother had talent and youth.
With his current strength, he could develop well in any region.
A newly established league meant that Alola's support would be poured into Kiran. That would help him grow even faster. I'll follow your lead, Kiran. If you want to go, I'll go with you.
Carmine finally said after a brief pause.
She was sure their family would support Kiran's choice too. There's really nothing to hesitate about, right? Lacey said, blinking. I think you should definitely go. Who knows? You might become Alola's very first champion.
To immediately become the champion of a region's league, that would be a legendary accomplishment.
But won't the Alola League be kind of weak? Carmine was still worried. Well, if Kiran doesn't go, maybe, Dylan chuckled. But once he joins, it won't be. Professor Kukui of Alola is already champion level.
I don't know if he intends to claim the champion title himself, but he'll definitely support the league.
And once you're there, Kiran, you can spar and learn from him. He's a great mentor, very open with his knowledge. Dylan had full confidence in Kukui's character. Then, I'll do it, Mr. Dylan. I'll go to Alola. Kiran said firmly, no longer hesitating.
He'd already been leaning toward that decision.
So what if Alola was still weak? Once he grew stronger, Alola would become stronger too. That was his pride as a prodigy. I think you'll be proud of this choice one day, Kiran. It's the right decision.
Talents like Kiran, unbound by any region, were always in high demand.
Alola welcomes you. Lily's eyes sparkled with joy, clearly thrilled for her homeland. Miss Lily, you're from Alola?
Lacey and the others were surprised.
Yep. I'm Alolan. But isn't Mr. Dylan your brother? Carmine glanced between the two. Dylan was clearly from Kanto. Ha! Kanto's my home too. But Dylan isn't my biological brother, he's my honorary brother.
Lily replied without hesitation, perfectly at ease.
Alola was her homeland, but Kanto was her home as well. I see.
Carmine nodded. That explained it. Dylan and Lily didn't really look alike anyway.
Alola's a beautiful place, Karen. When you get there, you can start by visiting Ether Paradise. I'll notify them in advance. Chairwoman Luzeman will make arrangements for you. Thank you, Karen said gratefully. No need. Just focus on getting even stronger, Karen. The Pokemon League will be hosting the World Championship next year, a global ranking tournament. I'll be looking forward to seeing your name high on that list. Dylan took a sip of tea, his voice gentle yet filled with anticipation. Who knew? Maybe Karen could crack the top 20. It wouldn't be easy. Judging by the current outlook, next year would be full of monsters. For Karen, reaching the top 20 would already be a huge success. Indigo Plateau. After being missing for several days, Lance finally returned, and the Kanto League's High Council convened immediately. Inside the conference room, Chairman Goodshow sat at the head. On his left were the league's counselors, on the right sat the Kanto Elite Four, led by Lance. Lance sat with arms crossed, expression blank, staring at the table. No one could tell what he was thinking. The area near Lavender Town was completely destroyed. It'll take a long time to rebuild. This is outrageous. Lance, do you even care about the league anymore? You abandoned your post for this long without explanation. Is this how a champion should act? You said you went to eliminate Team Rocket, but you didn't bring back a single person? Arrogant. Do you even care about this league, Lance? Several counselors vented their frustration. Normally they would have kept quiet, but this was their chance. They weren't about to hold back. Lance had always been proud, cold, and intolerant of evil. He barely acknowledged their existence. To them, he was the biggest threat within the league's hierarchy. At a certain word, Lance slowly looked up, his cold, emotionless gaze sweeping across the room. The barking wouldn't stop. It was starting to annoy him. His icy stare immediately silenced the bickering counselors. An eerie quiet fell over the room. They were bold enough to attack him behind words, but not brave enough to face him directly. Because he was Lance, the Dragon Master. Go on. Keep talking. Lance stood slowly, his blood-red hair casting a shadow over his eyes. His entire presence radiated danger. Lance. Gucho's voice trembled slightly, trying to interject. But Lance raised a hand to stop him. His boots echoed against the floor as he walked forward. I joined the league because I believed we could make the world better. There should be no place for sin or evil in a pure world. Yes. This world should be clean. Pokemon, nature, they all deserve better. Then why are there always disgusting things? Why do they always fester and rot everything they touch? Lance's expression twisted, the sharp lines of his face warping into rage. The room remained silent. Even the counselors sensed something was terribly wrong. Lance's expression was terrifying, too terrifying. We've always tried to fight it. Goodshow sighed wearily. But they never go away. The filthy maggots, the stench-ridden scum. They're right here. Lance's eyes swept over the counselors. He had always known some of them were rotten. The evidence he had reviewed made that clear. Some had even conspired with Team Rocket. Evil is evil. Even dressed in human skin, their disgusting stench can't be hidden. Murderous intent radiated from him. Gucho's pupils contracted. Lance. But now I know how to purge this rot once and for all. Chairman, watch carefully. Lance's shadowed eyes gleamed with fury. Behind him, a powerful Dragonite emerged. Its eyes mirrored Lance's own, dark, cold, dangerous. A heavy, suffocating pressure filled the room, Dragonite's aura. The counselors stared in horror at Lance and Dragonite. What was he about to do? Starting today, I, Lance the Dragon Master, resign from the Kanto League. I'll punish the darkness in my own way. Lance's voice was devoid of emotion. The League might strive toward light, but it was no longer a place for him. To Lance, it had become a shackle. Goodshow shut his eyes in sorrow. So it had come to this, after all. Despite all his efforts, he couldn't stop it. Agatha kept her eyes closed.
Lorelei crossed her arms and smirked coldly at the counselors' pale faces. As for Bruno, he simply lowered his head in silence, detached as always.
Lance, is there truly no room for compromise? Goodshow still tried to reach him.
The league has changed, Lance said calmly.
But before I go, let me do one last thing for it.
His cold eyes swept over the counselors.
Rats in human skin.
This world didn't need such filth. I'll make this world clear and blue again.
Chapter 314, Let Dylan. Dylan, are you free right now?
What's up, Chairman?
Come to Indigo Plateau. There's something important I need to discuss with you. Got it.
After hanging up, Dylan still found it strange. Chairman Gucho's voice had sounded unusually grim. Something serious must have happened.
Dylan had his sister watch over the gym, then flew toward Indigo Plateau on his white dragon. The journey from Route Lota to Indigo Plateau wasn't far, about half an hour.
He was greeted by the same secretary as usual, but this time, the secretary's face was pale. Gym leader Dylan, this way please.
Chairman has been waiting for you. She quickly led him inside the building.
Indigo Plateau, the most sacred site of the Kanto League. The league's main offices were located here. But today, a heavy gloom hung over the place. Inside the chairman's office sat Goodshow, Officer Jenny's chief commander, Nurse Joy's chief, and 3 remaining council members, each of them somber.
The atmosphere was suffocating. A knock on the door broke the silence. Goodshow snapped back to reality, his mind still replaying the earlier meeting.
Lance, champion of Kanto, the revered dragon master idolized by all Kanto trainers, had stood in a pool of blood, his cold, shadowed expression terrifying to behold.
For a pure, blue tomorrow. That sentence still echoed in Goodshow's ears. But was that really the right way?
He closed his eyes tightly. The Kanto League had once had 9 council members, now only 3 remained. The other 6 had all died under Lance's Dragonite's claws, their blood staining the meeting room.
Goodshow understood Lance's motive: eradicate evil completely, but in doing so, Lance himself had become the evil in the eyes of others. Chairman. Dylan entered the room, quickly taking in the tense expressions before settling his gaze on Goodshow.
He was startled. The chairman, normally energetic and optimistic despite his age, looked years older, drained and lifeless.
Dylan, sit down. Goodshow forced a smile, gesturing to the seat beside him.
Dylan raised a brow, glancing at Officer Jenny and Nurse Joy's leaders, and then at the remaining council members. I assume you're wondering why we called you so suddenly, Goodshow said, rising from his chair to sit beside Dylan, rubbing his forehead with weariness.
Please speak openly, Chairman. I won't hide it from you. We've handled this matter strictly and won't let it leak, but the impact is unavoidable. Goodshow's voice was heavy. Lance has left the Kanto League. Dylan blinked in shock. Did Lance run off?
And not just that, he went on a rampage in the meeting room. He killed 6 council members, including Fuji, before leaving, and
Goodshow sighed again. Agatha and the others went with him. Dylan immediately understood. Lance had taken the entire Kanto Elite Four and gone rogue.
No, gone rogue wasn't quite right, they'd basically seceded from the league. And true to his reputation, Lance didn't leave quietly, he massacred half the council on his way out.
This is... Dylan furrowed his brow.
They got what they deserved.
If they weren't so corrupt, Lance wouldn't have killed them, Councilman Sawamura scoffed angrily. He didn't believe Lance had done wrong.
Those rotten bureaucrats who abused their power, good riddance.
Sawamura, mind your words, another councilman cautioned. Why should I? Sawamura snapped.
I warned you what Fuji and the others were up to.
Lance left because of people like them.
And now look at us, Kanto doesn't even have an Elite Four anymore. His words plunged the room into silence again. Kanto, the heart of the Pokemon League and headquarters of the global system, now had no Elite Four at all.
They had once considered splitting off Johto as its own league, but now? With what?
More than half the council had been wiped out.
The league could barely function. We can't go on without an Elite Four. It's essential to Kanto's prestige, Goodshow said gravely. Do any of you have candidates in mind? The league needed new strength.
In the long run, Lance's purge might be a blessing, but for now, they were in deep trouble.
The boys red and blue aren't bad. Their performance during the Saffron City incident was excellent, said the Jenny commander. They're Oaks students, right? Promising indeed, Goodshow nodded.
Just 1 year into their journeys, they were already champion-level, undeniable proof of talent.
But that was only 2 people. They continued brainstorming. Trainers at Elite Four level did exist, like Sabrina of Saffron Gym. But with legends like Lance and Agatha before them, replacements had to be truly strong. Isn't the right person already sitting here?
Councilman Sawamura suddenly asked, looking straight at Dylan. Gym leader Dylan and gym leader Giovanni of Viridian, they're both more than qualified.
Dylan could easily be champion. Dylan glanced at him, amused. You sure know how to pick people. Dylan, what do you think? Goodshow knew Dylan was qualified, but also that he wasn't very interested in titles like champion or Elite Four. Chairman, if Kanto needs me, I won't refuse. But you know my nature, Dylan said, a bit helpless. He was happy to help fight evil for the league, but as champion? I know this puts you in a tough spot. But Dylan, Kanto really needs you right now, Goodshow said with a heavy sigh.
All the Elite Four gone in a flash, Kanto's current situation was truly dire.
You've always treated me with sincerity, Chairman. Of course I'll return the favor. Dylan understood the weight of the request.
Goodshow had always treated him with honesty, refusing now would be too heartless.
And the league really was in a bind. If you don't mind, how about making you acting champion? Suggested the Joy commander. Just until we fill the Elite Four and find a suitable permanent champion. You wouldn't need to handle day-to-day duties. They could all tell Dylan wasn't interested in the role itself.
But to gain the people's trust and restore confidence, Kanto needed someone strong and respected.
Dylan had the highest reputation of any gym leader in the region.
He was the perfect fit.
Fine. Dylan looked at Goodshow's hopeful eyes and finally nodded. All right, looks like he couldn't dodge this champion trial experience. Ha ha. Goodshow finally relaxed. As long as they had Dylan, Kanto was still invincible.
Yes, Dylan alone could defeat the entire previous Elite Four.
Now we just need 2 more. We already mentioned Giovanni, Dylan chuckled.
No, champion Dylan, Giovanni is like you.
He's never shown much interest in becoming an Elite Four, said the Jenny commander.
Before Dylan came along, Giovanni had been Kanto's strongest gym leader.
During the Saffron City conflict, Giovanni had fought alongside Steven and Wallace to repel Zinnia, showing champion-level power.
He'd been eligible to join the Elite Four for a long time, but never cared to.
I know Giovanni well. Let me talk to him. Dylan grinned. Taking Giovanni along to challenge the now Robe Lance and his former Elite Four? That would be quite the sight. That just leaves one more. Why not Dylan's apprentice, Celine?
I hear even Lorelei wasn't her match, said the Joy commander.
Celine is very strong, Dylan nodded.
But she's still a bit green, needs more polish.
I do have a champion-level friend I could ask. Not sure if she'd be interested, but I'll check. He was thinking of Leaf already championed here, showcasing the prestige of her title. Though carefree by nature, who knew if she'd want the job? And if not, it was fine.
Like him, she could be a temporary stand-in. By next year, Celine, Yellow, and Silver would be ready. Then they could retire gracefully.
Perfect. Goodshow beamed. All champions. And Dylan is champion himself? Kanto would remain invincible. I'll have someone prep your official portrait. Dylan, what type should I list for your champion profile? Multi-type. Normally, a new champion had to defeat all 4 Elite Four in a row. But with them all gone, the process was skipped. Champion profiles on the league site included a preferred type. Dylan's was obviously multi-type, right? Type, huh? Dylan thought for a moment, then smiled. I'm Lance's successor, aren't I? Since I've taken his position, I'll inherit his type too. Mark me down as Dragon-type champion. Chapter 315, I Want to Be Head. Champion's Chamber. This was the highest room within the Kanto League building. Since Dylan had accepted the role of Kanto champion even if only a temporary stand-in, it still had to be officially recorded. Good Show led Dylan into the chamber. Before them stood a stone pedestal, and on the wall were portraits of previous champions. Dylan spotted both Professor Oak and Lance among them. All right, Dylan.
Place your ID card here, Goodshow said as he activated a control switch, revealing a stone console with a digital terminal embedded.
Dylan took out his Rotom Dex and inserted it into the port. His portrait appeared on the screen. Black hair, sharp and clean-cut. His unzipped black leather jacket revealed a dark shirt beneath. A black cloak hung from his shoulders, and in his right hand, he held a deep purple Master Ball. Yes, this was the photo Dylan had just taken for his champion profile. Name, Dylan. Age, 18. Team, Ultra Necrozma, Kyurem, Reshiram, Dragonite, Salamence, Garchomp. Registration complete. Goodshow stroked his beard with a curious look as he reviewed the team. A full Dragon-type squad. Clearly, Dylan hadn't been joking when he said he'd be a Dragon-type champion. Now this was a proper Dragon team. Still, wasn't he making a certain statement with this lineup? All done. From this moment forward, Dylan, you are the champion of Kanto, Goodshow said with a smile, hands clasped behind his back. Congratulations, Dylan. You flatter me, Chairman. But now that I'm officially champion, wouldn't it be weird for me to still accept challengers at the Rota Gym? Dylan shrugged as he swished his new black champion cloak. Yeah, he had spontaneously decided on the cloak during his photo shoot. A Dragon-type champion needed one, after all. Just look at Lance and Zinnia, capes were a must. No one will think it's odd. You're not using your main team to face challengers anyway, Goodshow said casually. After all, they had already agreed Dylan wouldn't be burdened with full champion duties. Though this was the first time in history that a region's champion also served as a gym leader, it wasn't a big deal. Gym challenges and champion challenges were two different things. Anyone who thought they had what it took to beat Dylan at full power could try. Frankly, Goodshow was pleased. If someone managed to beat Dylan's real team, they could take over as champion, and Dylan could go back to running his gym. Everybody wins. I'll go contact Giovanni and my friend now. Great. I need to reach out to Professor Oak too. Their task set, Dylan and Goodshow parted ways. Goodshow was going to ask Red and Blue to join the Elite Four. Dylan had his own calls to make. After flying back to Rota Gym on Reshiram, he saw Leaf and Silver sparring in the training grounds, or rather, Leaf was clearly coaching Silver. Ha! Big bro, when did you start wearing a cape? Lily ran over curiously, eyeing the cloak. Gotta say, it looked pretty cool on him. Wait, he always looked cool. Not bad, right? From now on, your big brother is Kanto's champion, Dylan said with a cheeky grin, giving her cheek a playful squeeze. What? Lily's eyes widened into perfect circles, adorably stunned. Wait, gym leader Dylan, you're the champion now? Asha and Yellow both looked equally shocked. What the heck? He'd only been gone a few hours and now he was champion? Yep. It's a bit complicated, but I'm officially champion now. The public announcement should go out once the rest of the Elite Four are finalized, Dylan explained. Elite Four finalized. Lily and the others blinked in confusion. Meanwhile, Leaf and Silver wrapped up their training match. Leaf strolled over. Hey Dylan, this cape looks awesome on you. She tugged at the black fabric, admiring the style. Not bad, huh? Anyway, Leaf, we need a new Elite Four. Want to be one? Since it's you asking, sure. Why not? Leaf put her hands on her hips, smiling. She didn't refuse, her bond with Dylan ran deep. She had no grand ambitions anymore.
Thanks to Dylan, she'd found her parents. These days, she enjoyed working as a referee at the gym.
Once the massed organization was dealt with, she could finally relax. If she had to name one goal now. Leaf's gaze lingered on Dylan's face. Yep, that was it.
So, who else is joining the Elite Four? She asked, sitting down beside him.
Red and blue. As for the last member, let me call him now. Dylan took out his phone and made the call. It didn't take long to connect. Dylan, came a low, magnetic voice. Leaf's eyes widened in recognition. Wait, is he serious? Giovanni, you've heard what happened with Lance, right? Dylan said lightly.
Ha! I didn't expect it to go so smoothly. That old rat Fuji really came through, Giovanni chuckled darkly. There had always been a councilman in contact with Team Rocket, Fuji.
Giovanni had helped orchestrate a showdown between him and Lance at the meeting, pushing Lance into extremism and alienating him from the league.
Now Lance was outside the system, free of its restraints, his actions would only grow more radical. Sooner or later, he'd clash with the league again.
Kanto's in disarray. Even I got roped into being champion, Dylan said.
Congratulations, Dylan, Giovanni said with a low laugh.
But we still need a full Elite Four. Giovanni, how about you take one of the seats? The line went silent. Dylan waited patiently.
Giovanni, on the other hand, was dumbfounded.
You want me to be part of the Kanto Elite Four? Are you serious? Absolutely.
With your strength, you could be champion, Dylan replied calmly.
Giovanni didn't disagree.
He had the strength, but no interest in titles.
Dylan.
I'm the leader of Team Rocket. If he ever wanted a league title, he could have claimed it long ago.
Even Lance didn't scare him. In name only. Rocket is gone.
The league won't accept me.
They will, because I'm recommending you. Giovanni's name is just a legend now. The real Rocket boss was Baragon, remember? Dylan added slyly. That's why, during the Saffron conflict, Giovanni's identity had remained hidden. The Rocket executive Petrel had even impersonated Giovanni in battle. No one would ever connect the real Giovanni with Rocket now.
He was still the respected gym leader of Viridian.
I've got important things to do, Dylan. Giovanni was trying to find his son, he didn't have time for titles and politics.
I don't know what you're chasing, but becoming Elite Four gives you access to league resources.
That could help. Giovanni frowned on the other end of the line. That hit the mark.
He'd been searching for silver for years with no leads.
But league intel? That could change everything. Kanto's evil groups are mostly gone now. Besides, Dylan leaned in. Don't you want this, Giovanni? Lance has gone off the deep end.
He's broken from the league and thinks he can create a pure world. But with his methods,
Kanto's in for chaos.
When the league inevitably clashes with him, it'll fall to us, the new Elite Four, to stand against him.
Your position is already the opposite of Lance's. Leaf's eyes widened. Holy crap! Lance had always hunted Team Rocket relentlessly. Now, he was the one in darkness. If Giovanni joined the league, that's a complete reversal. The man Lance once called the greatest evil might now be the one to stop him. The silence dragged on. Ha. Dylan, you really are something. So what do you say, Giovanni? Fine. You've convinced me. Ha ha. You won't regret it. Dylan was pleased. Getting Giovanni on board was going to make things very interesting. But Dylan, I want to be head of the Elite Four, Giovanni added coolly.
The champion seat was taken, but he wasn't going to be anyone's subordinate. Even without his ace Beedrill still tied to the identity of Baragon, his ground-type lineup alone was terrifying.
Giovanni had thought it through.
Becoming Elite Four came with no downsides. He'd get access to the League's intelligence, helping him search for his son, and he'd have an official excuse to oppose Lance, that mad dog. The scourge of Kanto.
The evil tyrant Lance. Just imagining himself pointing at Lance and calling him that made Giovanni's lips curl into a smirk. This would be very satisfying indeed. Chapter 316, Blue vs Giovanni? You're kidding, Dylan. You really made Giovanni one of the Kanto Elite Four?
Leaf was completely stunned. Giovanni was the former leader of Team Rocket, Kanto's greatest enemy.
And now he was going to be one of the Elite Four? Had the world gone mad? A Giovanni without ambition is reliable. And if that ambition returns, there are people who can keep him in check.
Dylan shrugged. In Black and White 2, Giovanni had even participated in the World Championship.
Becoming an Elite Four member? No big deal. Besides, Giovanni's main goal right now wasn't domination, it was finding silver.
And when the day came that his ambition reignited, people like Red and Celine would be strong enough to keep him grounded.
Whatever.
I guess if anyone can handle him, it's you, Leaf muttered.
If Dylan had made the call, she wasn't going to worry too much.
He always had his reasons.
Chairman, it's all arranged, Dylan informed Goodshow over the phone. Excellent. Dylan, let's schedule everything for tomorrow at Indigo Plateau. The four of you can be officially sworn in.
Goodshow sounded relieved. His end had gone just as smoothly. After hearing the full story, Professor Oak had immediately contacted Red and Blue, who accepted without hesitation.
They'd been preparing to challenge the League anyway.
Being appointed straight to the Elite Four was even better. But Oak mentioned his grandson is fine with you being champion, Goodshow added, but he's dead set on claiming the title of head of the Elite Four.
Typical Blue, Dylan said with a chuckle.
If Dylan hadn't taken the champion seat, Blue might have challenged it himself.
As for the head Elite Four seat, Giovanni's already called dibs. If Blue wants it, he'll have to battle Giovanni for it.
Rankings were earned, not given. If Blue wanted to be first, he'd have to prove it in battle.
As for last place, well, that was obviously Leaf. Perfect. I'll pass that along. Let's meet tomorrow afternoon? No problem, Chairman, Dylan agreed.
The newly appointed Kanto Elite Four were about to gather for the first time.
Giovanni would have to come from Giotto, after all. Very well. I'll await you at Indigo Plateau. Goodshow seemed to be in good spirits again.
Despite the pain of Lance and the others defecting, it felt like a new, solid foundation was forming.
With Dylan at the helm, it couldn't be anything but stronger than before. Thank Arceus for Kanto's deep bench of talent, he murmured. Goodshow walked to the window of his office and looked out over the Indigo Plateau with a sigh.
Without this regional talent pool, the sudden loss of all four Elite Four members would have been devastating, maybe even a fatal blow to Kanto's prestige. The gym leader seats can't stay empty either, he muttered and began heading toward the cells where Janine and others were being held.
Back at Rota Gym. You're raising another new set of main Pokemon? You're seriously a monster. Leaf stared at the 3 Pokeballs Dylan had just retrieved from the transporter. What? I told you, I'm building a full-type gym. I need all attributes to be top tier. Dylan rolled his eyes. Yeah, total dominance in every type. You're nuts.
Rota Gym was already the stuff of legend. Dylan had mastered Poison, Dark, Ghost, Dragon, Grass, Fire, Normal, Water, and Ice, plus gold-tier legendaries.
And every single Pokemon was absurdly strong.
Leaf couldn't even begin to wrap her head around how he trained them all. She was supposed to be a genius too, but Dylan made her feel like a total novice.
Who knows? Maybe I'll actually pull it off, Dylan said with a smile. So what's the type this time? Leaf asked, intrigued. Come out. Dylan released the 3 Pokemon. The first was a humanoid, doll-like Pokemon with a purple and white body.
It had a soft smile and droopy twin-horn pigtails. Red triangular markings framed its eyes.
Indeed, it was Indeedee. BZZTNDD, female, psychic/normal type, emotion Pokemon. Ability, Psychic Surge. Moves, Psybeam, Disarming Voice, Baton Pass, Helping Hand, Stored Power, Fake Out, Inherited. It seemed this batch would be psychic types. Leaf studied the gentle-looking NDD. Dylan already had normal type coverage, so this one was here for the psychic angle. Next was a tiny creature with soft pink skin, a little mouth, and stumpy limbs. Its pale blue hair curled inward to cover its eyes, and its tail stood upright like a party hat. So cute. BZZT Hatena, Psychic type, Calm Pokemon. Ability, Magic Bounce. Moves, Aromatic Mist, Disarming Voice, Life Dew, Confusion, Play Nice, Inherited. Hatena, huh? I think that's the female counterpart to Impidimp? Leaf recalled that Dylan had a Grimmsnarl on his team already. Exactly, Dylan confirmed. Some Pokemon came in gendered evolutionary lines. Hatena's final form, Hatterene, was the counterpart to Grimmsnarl. A forest witch versus a fairy demon. Then Leaf turned to the last one, a very quiet little figure. Small, humanoid, white body. Its pale blue hair covered most of its face, with yellow horns protruding from the head. It was a shiny Ralts. BZZT Ralts, Psychic/Fairy type, Feeling Pokemon. Ability, Trace. Moves, Draining Kiss, Hypnosis, Confusion, Double Team, Mean Look, Inherited. Whoa! That's a shiny Ralts. Leaf blinked. Regular Ralts had green hair, this one was clearly blue. Yep. My dad, Steven, and Wallace helped me find it. Took some effort, but we finally tracked one down. Dylan grinned. Ralts was a Hoenn native species, and Steven and Wallace, former and current Hoenn champions, had the resources to search thoroughly. Most importantly, the shiny Ralts was female. Some people believed Gallade was Ralts' true male evolution, but male Ralts could still evolve into Gardevoir too. Dylan didn't care. He wanted that shiny Gardevoir aesthetic. He appreciated strength, sure, but aesthetics mattered too. And a male Gardevoir just felt off. He'd considered Gallade. If this one had been male, it was strong enough. But a male Gardevoir? That was a hard no. Just too weird. Hello there. I'm Dylan. From now on, I'll be your trainer. He crouched and smiled warmly. The power of his Viridian force spilled forth. The sacred aura immediately endeared him to NDD and Hatena, who leaned in close to nuzzle him. Even the shy shiny Ralts raised her head and stepped forward. Let's get stronger together, Dylan said, patting each of their heads. With this, his psychic team was nearly complete. What a wonderful day. The next afternoon, Dylan flew to Indigo Plateau with Leaf and Lily, leaving Lily to wait outside while he and Leaf entered Goodsho's office. Inside, Red, Blue, and Giovanni were already present. Sorry, looks like we're a bit late, Dylan said with a smile, greeting each of them. No trouble at all. Take a seat. You must be Leaf? Goodshow asked kindly. Yes, sir. It's an honor to meet you, Chairman Goodshow, Leaf said politely, bowing slightly. Red tilted his head. When did Leaf get so formal? What a fine young lady. Please, sit. Goodshow was clearly charmed. She was beautiful, talented, and well-mannered. A perfect candidate. You all know the situation. If you're here, that means you've agreed to be the new Kanto Elite Four. Once you fill out this paperwork and sign, you'll be official, Goodshow said, sliding the forms forward. Giovanni picked his up and read carefully. It was mostly about resources, responsibilities, and rules. Standard stuff. The league was fairly lenient overall. Even though the Elite Four were a region's frontline force, their titles were always subject to change. I've got one question, Blue said, leaning back in his chair. Where are the old four? He respected the previous Elite Four, especially Lance, the former champion. Oak had only told him they'd step down, but not why. Don't know, Goodshow sighed. I can't tell you where they went. But I can tell you this, someday, they might become your enemies.
His voice was heavy with regret. They've turned their backs on the league. Maybe if he'd acted sooner, Lance wouldn't have gone to extremes.
But hindsight was useless now. Lance had carried too much darkness for too long.
Now that he was free from league oversight, his path was bound to diverge further. The league stood for justice. Lance, who had killed council members, clearly no longer shared those ideals.
Ha! Blue raised a brow. That was a lot to process. The former Elite Four might be their future opponents? Sounds fun. He grinned.
He didn't care about their reasons. If they were enemies, they were enemies.
Losing? Please. When did the current beat the former? And besides, they had Dylan now. Dylan, his invincible best bro.
One more thing, I've got no issue with Dylan being champion.
But who's going to be the head of the Elite Four? Blue asked, arms crossed as he glanced around. Dylan was champion, fine.
But the number 2 seat Elite Four head was his to claim.
There could be only one second in command, Blue. I'm not fighting for it.
I'll take the bottom spot, Leaf said immediately.
What was there to fight for? She wasn't beating any of these guys anyway. And besides, wasn't it nice being the cute little sister with 4 big brothers?
The order's up to you, Goodshow said.
You can battle to settle it. Red pulled down his hat, eyes narrowing as he stared back at Blue.
He wasn't about to give up the top spot.
Well then, I'll say it now, the top spot's mine. Anyone object?
Blue stood up, full of swagger.
Giovanni? Been there, beat that. Red? Same deal. This time, the top seat belonged to him. Let's battle and find out, Giovanni said with a cool smile. He had his pride. Now that he joined, he wasn't about to let some punk stand above him. Uncle Gio, you already lost to us. You really want to go again? Blue scoffed.
Gym battles are gym battles, Giovanni replied smoothly, sipping his tea with practiced grace.
TCH. You saying you didn't go all out back then? Leaf, degree. Red. Ha.
Blue, let Uncle show you the true meaning of the earth, Giovanni said with a smirk.
These kids needed their egos trimmed. Chapter 317, Why did you defect?
The battle arena behind the league building.
Dylan and the others had arrived. They were all people of action, and for the newly appointed Elite Four, settling their rankings was an important matter. Especially since Red, Blue, and Giovanni all had no intention of backing down. A battle was inevitable. So then, Blue, Red, who wants to go first? Giovanni strolled calmly to the battlefield, casually loosening his neck and straightening his expensive black suit.
With one hand in his pocket, his face half-shrouded in shadow, he wore a faint smile.
Giovanni honestly hadn't expected to find himself here.
As the former leader of Team Rocket, once called the source of Kanto's darkness, he now stood atop the Indigo Plateau, about to battle for the title of head of the Elite Four. The world had truly gone mad. But he didn't dislike it. No matter what, he was still Giovanni, the ground-type master. He had always been a proud man. If he weren't, he wouldn't have called himself the strongest man. Now that he had agreed to become an Elite Four member, well, Dylan was a special case, sure.
But the others? They'd have to earn it. TCH, cocky old man, Blue muttered, stepping up to face him.
The thing Blue hated most was people putting on airs in front of him. I want to see if you're actually as strong as you claim.
Don't let me down, old man. A pokeball spun at his fingertips as Blue grinned at Giovanni.
Sure, he acknowledged Giovanni's strength. Among the 8 official gym leaders, only Giovanni and Blaine had earned his respect.
But that didn't mean he thought Giovanni would be hard to beat. He was just a gym leader, no second Dylan. Who was he? Blue Oak, champion tier. He. Giovanni chuckled softly.
Then prepare yourself, kid. "All ref," Leaf chirped excitedly, just about to jump into the referee role.
Then Dylan stepped forward and beat her to it.
Leaf rolled her eyes.
TCH. As the senior, I'll let Blue decide, Giovanni said, very much in the role of wise elder. Full battle, obviously, Blue said without hesitation.
If they were fighting for rank, a 6v6 full-team battle was the fairest way to determine it.
Giovanni had no objections. Then let's begin. This is a 6-on-6 full battle between Giovanni and Blue.
When one side's 6 Pokemon are all unable to battle, the other wins.
Battle start.
Dylan announced the rules, then stepped back from the field.
A large dial on the scoreboard began spinning rapidly, used to determine who would send out first.
Unlike gym battles, where the leader always sends first, in a fair fight like this, going first was actually a disadvantage. The second trainer could counter with a type advantage, and if the first trainer switched out, they risked revealing team information.
Dylan, who do you think will win? Goodshow asked curiously. Blue is very strong. Given another year, he might reach Giovanni's current level.
Oh?
Goodshow raised a brow. Blue was already champion tier, and among champions, he wasn't weak. Was Giovanni really that strong?
Goodshow had always kept an eye on Giovanni. He was once the most famous and capable gym leader in Kanto. But maybe he had been hiding his full power. Or maybe no one had ever pushed him hard enough to reveal it. And he'd never once challenged the Elite Four until now.
Giovanni is formidable. If no better candidate appears, I think he could serve as Kanto's champion if he's willing, Dylan said. The dial stopped. Giovanni would go first. He didn't mind and casually tossed out his first Pokemon. Nidoking. The monstrous Pokemon landed heavily in front of Giovanni, letting out a low growl.
Blue, I'll show you the true strength of my ground-type core.
Be careful.
Giovanni caught the returning Pokeball one-handed, the other still in his pocket.
His demeanor was completely different from his gym days, cool and dangerous. This isn't Viridian Gym anymore.
TCH, save the talk for after you win, old man.
Blue sneered.
Besides Dylan and that insufferable Aizen, no one dared posture in front of him.
Alakazam. Blue chose his ace psychic type, a perfect counter to Nidoking's poison typing.
Oof.
That Alakazam's no joke, Giovanni muttered, his keen eyes scanning the battlefield.
While Blue was arrogant, even Giovanni admitted the boy had freakish talent.
If Dylan hadn't existed, Red and Blue would have been the leading lights of Kanto's new generation.
You may be strong, old man, but let me tell you something. Blue lifted his chin arrogantly, hands on hips in a striking pose.
I'm way stronger now than when I challenged your gym. I've transformed. Sure, maybe Giovanni had held back at Viridian Gym, but who cared?
Months had passed, and he had grown far stronger.
Didn't he know the name Blue Oak?
You might have beaten him once, but once Blue won, you'd never beat him again.
I swear on my name, I'll win. Hee, youth sure is bold, Giovanni chuckled again. Come then.
I'll show you what it means to be the world's strongest man.
Blue's battle spirit flared like a wildfire.
Today, he'd take the throne just below the champion's head of the Elite Four.
The battle began. And then. Ugh, damn it.
How could I lose? Blue staggered back, staring in disbelief at his mega-evolved Blastoise, collapsed, no longer glowing. Across from him stood a bruised, panting Dugtrio.
He'd lost.
Despite giving it his all, he'd lost.
This wasn't right. How had this happened? Blue, you're strong.
But you've still got a ways to go before surpassing me.
Giovanni held a Pokeball in one hand, smiling calmly at the fuming Blue. That felt good. Blue's face twisted into a deep scowl. He was pissed, but couldn't find a single comeback.
Man, he's really strong, Leaf muttered, glancing at the scoreboard.
Giovanni's Nidoking, Golem, and Rhyperior were grayed out fainted. Which meant Giovanni had only used 4 Pokemon to defeat Blue's entire team.
And Dugtrio, though injured, was still standing strong. Even with Golem and Rhyperier's double weaknesses to water and grass, he'd still won handily.
Indeed.
Looks like Giovanni's strength has been underestimated all this time, Goodshow said, stroking his beard with a broad smile.
The stronger Giovanni was, the better for the league. Red, you still want to fight? Giovanni turned to his next opponent.
Red and Blue were close in strength, but battles were never just about stats, timing and tactics mattered.
I do, Red said, tilting his hat slightly.
His crimson eyes gleamed beneath the brim.
Giovanni, you don't want to heal up first? Leaf asked, blinking. No need.
I've got others, Giovanni said with a small, dangerous smile.
Like Lance, Giovanni had long reached the upper limits of champion tier.
Over the years, he had cultivated many core ground types. That was what true depth looked like. Maybe Red and Blue could catch up to his first string team within a year, but not his full roster.
Not yet. Giovanni and Red began their battle. Unsurprisingly, Red also lost. Blue looked sour.
Red had lasted slightly longer and had done more damage. His performance against Giovanni's fourth Pokémon was better than Blue's against Dugtrio.
That just made Blue more annoyed. So Giovanni's the head of the Elite Four, Goodshow said cheerfully. What about second and third? TCH.
I'll take it back next year, Blue grumbled.
He admitted defeat, but only for now. As for second and third,
Blue looked at Red, who glared right back. Both of their teams were in no condition for another fight.
Dylan suggested a coin flip, or rather, a draw. What?
Blue grit his teeth, staring at the paper in his hand.
A big, bold 3 was written on it. He was number 3, third.
No wait, if you counted Dylan, he was fourth. Red rubbed his nose, but the smug tilt of his lips was obvious.
Don't get cocky. I'll take you down by year's end. Blue wasn't going to let this go. Losing to Giovanni was bad enough, but letting Red rank above him? Unacceptable. He was already planning a rematch challenge after the Indigo Conference. First take Red down, then next year. Giovanni. He was climbing back up.
Red said nothing, but gave him a sideways glance.
Blue knew that look. It meant, you? Yeah, right.
Blue's face turned red with rage. That smug jerk.
All right, time to get your official photos taken. Let's also snap a group shot of you all. Goodshow beamed as the two boys bickered.
Their energy made him feel young again.
What spirit!
The 5 of them entered the league's dressing and photo rooms. Giovanni and the others posed for their Elite Four portraits.
Dylan had already done his the day before, but they still needed a full group shot with the new champion and Elite Four. Looking good. I really was born gorgeous. Leaf admired her own portrait in the league office.
In the image, she wore a sleek black dress. Her right hand twirled her long brown hair, left eye winking cutely. Her left arm stretched forward in a finger gun pose, giving off mischievous charm. Behind her, Blastoise stood turned slightly, radiating power. The photographer had politely noted that it was a bit too whimsical for an Elite Four poster, but Leaf insisted.
She loved it.
Red's was simpler, head down, hand adjusting his cap, with Charizard roaring behind him.
Blue's partner couldn't be Blastoise, since Leaf already used it, so he chose Tyranitar instead.
Giovanni's was dramatic, hands in his pockets, back half turned to the camera, half his face hidden in shadow with a sly, malicious smile.
His partner Pokémon? A Persian. Yes, his beloved Persian. Still one of his favorites.
All of your profiles have been uploaded to the league website.
It's live now, Goodshow announced with a smile. The group pulled out their phones. Dylan noticed a ping. He'd been tagged in the gym leader group chat. Officer Jenny, not surprised at all. Dylan and Giovanni? At everyone. Officer Jenny, learn from this, people. Dylan's champion now, and Giovanni's head of the Elite Four. You see this? Laughing emoji X3, Elite Four page link. Officer Jenny, I've always had an eye for talent. These are MY boys. Ha ha ha. Cerulean Jim, Daisy, huh? Dylan's champion now?
Cerulean Jim, Lily, Dylan, please train me.
Starry eyes emoji. Celadon Jim, Violet, I knew you could do it, Dylan. Amazing. Admiration emoji. Pewter Jim, Bruno, holy crap emoji. Cinnabar Jim, Blaine, wait, Giovanni's the head of the Elite Four? What the? Saffron Jim, Sabrina, shocked emoji. Sabrina, dazed emoji. Sabrina, is this for real emoji, asterisk asterisk. Yep, Sabrina spammed 3 emojis in a row. Chapter 318, got taken by Dylan.
Inside the Saffron Gym, Sabrina stared at the profile of the new head of the Kanto Elite Four.
Giovanni, head of the Kanto Elite Four. Specialty, ground type.
Giovanni, the boss, had become the head of the Elite Four.
For Sabrina, this was nothing short of a lightning bolt from a clear sky. Her head was spinning. Numb. How could this have happened? But
Sabrina's eyes wavered with psychic ripples.
She exhaled softly, perhaps this was fine.
With the boss's strength, he'd do just fine in the league.
Then suddenly, she tilted her head. Hold on. How had Dylan and the boss suddenly been promoted? What happened to Lance?
At that moment, the Kanto League's official website and forums were already ablaze.
We regret to inform you that Lance, Agatha, Bruno, and Lorelei have formally resigned from their positions.
We thank them for their many years of service to the Kanto region.
The new champion and Elite Four of Kanto have now been appointed.
They will inherit the will of their predecessors and protect Kanto. This announcement stunned the entire region.
All 4 members of the Elite Four gone in one day?
This was way too sudden. Agatha, maybe, was reaching retirement age, but Lance and the other 2 were in their prime.
Why such a coordinated resignation? Many people immediately sensed something off.
Clearly, there was a story here. But since the league wasn't saying anything, all they could do was speculate.
On the new champion and Elite Four page, the comments were exploding. Oh good, from Menace Gym Leader to Menace Champion. And he's listed as a Dragon-type specialist too? Incredible. Wah! Our Dylan finally made it. Go Dylan. Asha will always support you. Fully approve of Dylan becoming champion. I always said Giovanni should have been on the Elite Four. Never seen these 3 before.
But this Leaf girl is so cute, she looks really young.
Is she really Elite Four material? Unfamiliar? Just visit the Rota Gym a few times, you'll get very familiar.
Most comments were positive, though naturally, there were a few skeptics and even trolls.
Which was to be expected.
Lance and his team had massive prestige in Kanto, with tons of fans.
Replacing all 4 without an explanation was bound to ruffle feathers.
But the league had no plans to explain.
What could they say? That Lance had slaughtered half the council and broken ties with the league? Not a chance. Inside the league HQ, Goodshow led Dylan and the new Elite Four into their office suite. This is your designated lounge and office space.
If you're staying at the league HQ, housing has been arranged on the plateau as well, Goodshow said with a smile.
Dylan looked around, everything was new.
Fresh furniture, fresh decor. Clearly, this was all redone for them. Goodshow, to his credit, wasn't tone-deaf enough to leave behind the belongings of the former 4 for their replacements.
Hard to believe.
The Indigo Conference hasn't even started, and I'm already Elite Four, Blue muttered, glancing around. His original goal after leaving Pallet Town had been to dominate the Kanto League. Now, while he hadn't quite taken the top, he was pretty damn close. This was a huge step forward.
Wait, Chairman, does this mean Red and I can't participate in the Indigo Conference? Blue suddenly asked.
They had signed up for the tournament, which was just days away.
Of course not, Goodshow chuckled. You're Elite Four now. You can't be going down to compete with the kids.
After all, the Indigo Conference winner earns the right to challenge the Elite Four. If the Elite Four themselves joined, that would make a mockery of the whole process. Like in the anime, Ash became a Lola champion because there simply wasn't an Elite Four at the time. The league was new, and the tournament was funded and organized by the Ether Foundation. The rules weren't even finalized.
That's fine.
I don't want to bully rookies anyway, Blue shrugged. Honestly, if not for the formal process, he wouldn't have entered. The whole tournament would have been just him versus Red in the finals anyway. To the west of Cinnabar Island lay a wide stretch of open sea, and on it, a crescent-shaped island not marked on any map. That day, the Forgotten Isle welcomed several new visitors. Cerise Island, we finally found it, Agatha said, leaning on her cane as she looked toward the dormant volcano at the center. It was a bizarre structure, ringed by 7 towering stone pillars.
You're sure this is it?
Lorelei asked, pushing up her glasses. They had searched the sea for over a day to find it.
No doubt, Agatha said. This entire island is one giant badge energy amplifier. With the right energy, it can summon a legendary bird Pokemon.
Which one? Lorelei asked.
Who knows?
Ho-Oh, maybe? Or Lugia? We'll know when we summon it, Agatha replied.
Kanto had many legendary birds, the famed trio of Zapdos, Articuno, and Moltres.
But the legendary large bird Pokemon were Ho-Oh and Lugia.
Which one they could summon, Agatha didn't know.
If Lance captures this one, along with Zekrom, he'll be unstoppable, Lorelei said, smirking.
Then our dream will be within reach.
She had left with Lance because they shared the same ideals.
There were too many Pokemon suffering, too many humans abusing nature.
The league was too soft. The wicked should be purged. Lance stood with arms folded, his black cape fluttering as he gazed at the mountain. When we summon it, we strike, he said. To rid the world of evil, they needed power. And a legendary bird would grant that.
The world must be made clean again.
At this point, the only one who could stop Lance is Dylan, Agatha said with a sly chuckle.
But what if Dylan opposes us? Bruno asked bluntly.
He had never wanted to leave.
He was fine being Elite Four.
So why the hell was he here now, with these lunatics? Oh right, because Agatha had pulled some trickery on him. And now, even if he wanted to leave, he couldn't. He really didn't get it. Lance and Lorelei being zealots was one thing. Why was Agatha out here risking her geriatric spine? And to top it off, Bruno seriously doubted they'd succeed. Last time they tried something big, they got wrecked by Aizen. This time? Probably Dylan. Dylan used to be their most reliable ally, now they had made him their enemy. Bruno was tired. Dylan is like us.
Devoted to Pokemon injustice, Lance said calmly, confidence in his voice.
Bruno was baffled. Justice? Has Lance seen Dylan's online nickname?
The league won't let us kill freely, Bruno reminded them.
Not everyone deserves death, but to Lance and Lorelei, anything evil must be eradicated. No shades of gray. Only black and white. The league can't stop us now, Lorelei said coldly. With them gone, the league had no strong cards left. Except Dylan. But Dylan is the champion now. That got everyone's attention. Lance, Lorelei, and Agatha all turned to him.
Bruno felt goosebumps rise.
He's champion. The new Elite Four are in place too. And Dylan's listed as a Dragon-type specialist.
Bruno's tone was strange as he showed them the website.
Dylan, the multi-type master, had chosen Dragon as his official specialization. What did it mean? Lance's title. Taken. By Dylan. Lance's brow twitched. Dylan, was this a tribute to me, your senior? Truly, you finally understood. Dragons are supreme. Ha! Good show moves fast, Agatha said with a twinkle in her eye. They'd only been gone 2 days, and he already replaced them. Her gaze landed on Blue's profile. Oak's grandson, huh? TCH. Just some kids, Lorelei scoffed.
Well, we'll need the badges to activate the island. Let's get them, Agatha said.
She was generally level-headed, but even she had things she couldn't let go of.
Otherwise, she wouldn't be out here starting over with the crazies. Wasn't the real issue that Dylan was champion now? These three were still plotting. Did they really think Dylan wouldn't flatten them? Bruno sighed deeply. Maybe it was time to think about an exit strategy. He didn't want to end up in the same cell block as the Rocket executives. He'd rather not get prison jumped by Archer and company. And sure, he could probably reverse it and beat them up instead, but still. Bruno had always been loyal to the League, damn it. Chapter 319, Wait. I was supposed to be the one to beat Lance. Wallace, my dearest friend. Congrats on becoming Kanto champion. Truly worthy of being my closest companion.
I'll be heading to Kanto soon to organize a contest festival. We'll definitely stop by to see you again.
You're awesome.jpg.
Steven, congratulations, Dylan champion of Kanto.
Thumbs up.jpg. Cynthia, congrats. When will you visit Sinnoh for a tour? Alder, hahaha impressive, Dylan. You even dethroned Lance. So strong.jpg.
Mustard, heck congratulations on reaching the peak of Kanto, Dylan.
Mr. Goodman, hahaha. I told you all. My son was born to be a champion. Unstoppable laughter.jpg.
After the Kanto League's official announcement of Dylan's appointment as champion and the new Elite Four, the congratulations had been pouring in non-stop. Friends from other regions called or messaged, offering sincere congratulations. Though they weren't exactly surprised.
With Dylan's strength, it wasn't unbelievable that he could defeat Lance and take the throne.
What did raise eyebrows, though, was that Dylan had never seemed interested in the champion title.
And what happened to Lance?
Steven and the others were certainly curious, but since they were from different regions and Goodshow hadn't disclosed the reason for the previous team's departure, they were left guessing.
Dylan becoming champion did, of course, bring changes to his life.
Even though he'd already told Goodshow he wouldn't involve himself in league affairs, the champion title held massive weight. Previously, with the Indigo Conference about to begin, the Rota Gym had few challengers.
Now,
in just the 5 days since Dylan had returned, despite the conference having already started, challengers and spectators flocked to the Rota Gym.
Everyone wanted to see what it was like. Kanto's champion still serving as a gym leader? Tourism in Rota had exploded. Whoa. Gym leader bro. You really knocked champion Lance off the throne? Does that mean if I want to take the title next year, I have to fight you? Am I gonna have to betray my master? Celine's excited but exasperated voice echoed from the phone.
Watch your mouth, Dylan said, half laughing, half scolding.
Seriously. You used to say I'd fight Lance as my graduation boss battle, and now you took him out yourself. Celine pouted.
Before she'd set off on her journey, Dylan had constantly nagged her to develop an unbeatable will, get stronger, and eventually take down Lance.
And now, Dylan had gone and done it himself. If she wanted to dominate Kanto, didn't that mean she'd have to challenge her own teacher? That seemed kinda hard. Maybe just let Lance come back instead?
Pfft, the girls nearby, Asha and the others, couldn't help but stifle their giggles.
Didn't you say you were going to challenge other regions' champions? Dylan asked. Yeah, well, the plan was Hoen's Wallace. He looked easy, but then you forced him to retire too. Celine huffed in frustration. Don't worry, I believe in you. I might step down sometime next year anyway.
Whether you can become Kanto champion will depend on your own ability, Dylan said nonchalantly.
Ha? What ha? Hurry up and get stronger. The current Elite Four are way tougher than the last group. You don't want to end up the bottom rank, do you?
At that, Leaf pouted and muttered under her breath.
She definitely felt called out. Put.
Gym leader bro, you're looking down on me.
I'm already champion tier now. I'm going to be champion next year. Celine's voice was full of pride and energy. As long as Dylan wasn't in her way, she wasn't afraid of anyone. Monsters, ghosts, whatever, she'd crush them all. Whoa! Celine's champion level now? Asha gasped with delight. Oh my god, what a freak of nature! Leaf clutched her head. This was unreal. Celine had only been gone for like 2 or 3 months and was already champion tier?
That kind of growth rate wasn't just comparable to Red, it might have been faster, given how solid her foundation was.
Celine's amazing. Yellow beamed with admiration for her senior disciple. Silver fell silent.
If what the others said was true, then Celine had only just started her journey not long ago. Clearly, if he wanted to challenge for the title of Dylan's strongest disciple, it was going to be a long road.
Do you want a beating?
How many times do I have to tell you you're a girl?
Stop calling yourself ya boy. Dylan sighed in exasperation, laughing despite himself. Hee, Celine giggled shamelessly. How's that ultra beast coming along? It's strong. That katana you sent me is totally busted. Its sacred sword can cut anything.
Judging by her excitement, Dylan started to wonder what exactly she'd been cutting.
Yep, he'd sent her a katana, her own choice, actually. Good. When are you coming back to Rhoda?
Not for a while. I'm in the M to Silver area right now, hoping to find a Tyranitar.
All right. When you're back, come by the gym.
I want to see how much you've grown.
Hanging up now. Roger that. Bye-bye gym leader bro, love ya, moi. This damn girl. Who did she even learn this nonsense from? Dylan stared at the call log, feeling vaguely disturbed. His first carefully raised disciple turned out like this? At least Asha and Silver were respectful and hardworking. Thank goodness for small blessings. A week passed.
The Indigo Conference continued in full swing across all regions.
Dylan didn't go watch in person, instead, he monitored the battles via livestream in the gym's screening room. On screen, Jeanette was currently battling.
Watching her Nidoqueen lay down toxic spikes and secure victory, Dylan nodded in approval.
Jeanette was getting stronger. Dylan, I'll give you credit, you've definitely influenced the meta.
These days, 9 out of every 10 Indigo matches feature poison types, Leaf commented, eyeing him sideways. If Kanto had more dark and ghost types, she had no doubt those would be booming too. Nowadays, even trainers who weren't poison type specialists had to keep 1 or 2 poison or steel types in their team. No one wanted to get caught off guard by a random Beedrill or Golbat spreading toxic spikes, or survive a surprise Venoshock only to slowly die of poison stalling. The battle culture in Kanto had been utterly poisoned by Dylan's influence. You either adapted or got wrecked. People were building counters specifically for him.
I'm proud, Dylan said with a serene smile. Elevating the average quality of Kanto trainers? That was the ultimate honor for a gym leader. Did you hear? Kobat and Surge have been reinstated, Leaf said. Yeah, Lily pulled them back into the group chat, Dylan replied with a nod. Good show really has guts. Those two were rocket executives, Leaf marveled. There aren't many replacements for gym leaders. And Kobat and Surge are trustworthy, Dylan said.
He hadn't expected Good Show to be that bold, though, bringing them back so quickly.
2 days ago, Kobat and Surge were added back to the gym leader chat, and Lily roasted them hard.
They got dragged so badly they probably couldn't lift their heads for a day.
But that's gonna bring problems, Dylan said with a dry chuckle. Huh? What do you mean? Leaf blinked. If Lance finds out, he won't let it go. Even if they've turned over a new leaf.
With Lance's zero tolerance for evil, there was no way he'd accept former Rocket operatives returning to the League.
The League believed in redemption and second chances. Lance did not.
To him, Kobat and Surge were nothing but filth, former scum who could never be clean.
Turncoats?
He'd cleanse them personally.
Yeah, you're probably right, Leaf muttered. This could blow up, Dylan said. In the Pokemon Adventures manga, Lance once used just a Dragonair to annihilate all of Vermilion City. The casualty count was unknown.
In that story, the Kanto Elite Four sought to eliminate humanity to create a perfect world.
City-level destruction wasn't out of place. If things escalated here, Dylan wouldn't be surprised if Lance targeted Vermilion City directly.
Gym leader bro, you've got a challenger.
And,
Asha's voice came through the intercom.
After hearing the rest, Dylan's expression turned complicated.
Standing before the Rota Gym's roulette wheel was a massive, shirtless man with wild blue hair and sculpted muscles. He wore white martial arts pants and black wristbands. His face was rugged. His eyes serious.
Bruno? Dylan said as he walked out, blinking in surprise.
The former third-ranked Elite Four member had arrived.
Dylan, no, Champion Dylan, Bruno corrected himself. Don't call me Elite Four anymore. I'm not one of them. Though Bruno looked like a meathead, he had more brains than people gave him credit for.
He'd always stayed quiet in the league.
Mostly because the other three were complete lunatics. Plus, Agatha had him under psychic control. Didn't expect you to come here, Dylan admitted. He and Bruno had only met a few times. Among the former Elite Four, he was closest with Lance, then Lorelei.
Agatha was complicated.
Bruno?
They barely spoke.
I had no choice.
Lance and the others have completely lost it, Bruno groaned. You have no idea the crap they're planning. I think they've all lost their damn minds.
Champion Dylan, I came to tell you, I'm not like them. I'm normal, okay?
Under Dylan's slightly baffled gaze, the muscleman began pouring out his heart. He hadn't slept well in days.
I believe you, Mr. Bruno, Dylan said with a knowing smile. So he'd come to defect, huh? Looks like Bruno was smarter than he looked.
I joined the league to fight strong trainers and grow alongside my Pokemon, Bruno sighed.
And instead I get these lunatics rambling about vermin and corruption every day, it's like they're cursed. Worst part?
That old lady uses hypnosis on me sometimes.
What did I do to deserve this? Bruno was heartbroken.
He'd had such promise, now it felt like he was headed straight for prison. Which was so not the path he had envisioned for himself. I'm telling you, Champion Dylan, I'm one of the good guys.
A model citizen. Not one of those fanatics. Chapter 320, I promise you're gonna love this. I stand with the League.
Bruno declared solemnly, wearing a serious expression.
Good, good. I never doubted it, Dylan said, applauding. I can tell at a glance you're a man of justice, Bruno. Relieved, Bruno let out a long breath. Excellent.
No more worries about spending the rest of his life behind bars.
So, Bruno, Dylan asked curiously, can you tell me what Lance and the others are planning lately?
After all, this world's situation was different from the Adventures manga, where the Kanto Elite Four debuted as villains. Lance and the others here had resigned from the League voluntarily. That old lady brought us to Cerise Island, Bruno said without hesitation, selling out his teammates instantly.
She wants to use it to summon a legendary giant bird Pokemon. Lugia? Dylan asked. Not sure. But she said it's likely to be Lugia. Dylan raised an eyebrow.
So it really had come full circle, Cerise Island was the Kanto Elite Four's base in Pokemon Adventures. To summon it, they need all 8 original badges.
That's why I had the chance to come out alone. Bruno pulled out 2 badges from his pocket. Dylan recognized them at a glance.
The Boulder badge from Pewter and the Cascade badge from Cerulean.
He nodded.
The 8 original Kanto gyms were historically significant, the first established when the League was formed. Their original badges were made from high-energy materials. In the manga, Team Rocket had used badge energy to fuse the 3 legendary birds. The Elite Four used Cerise Island itself as an amplifier to summon and control legendary Pokemon.
How'd you get these 2 badges? Dylan asked. Their defenses were just too lousy, Bruno replied, scratching his head. I slipped in and stole them easily. Didn't even run into anyone. I don't think they've noticed yet. Bruno looked a little exasperated. He'd heard the stories of pewter and cerulean being underwhelming. Now he understood. I see. Well then, Bruno, please take those badges back. Ha? Bruno blinked. I'll need you to stay under cover with Lance and the others. If they make any extreme moves, I'd like you to report back to me. Dylan gave the instructions calmly.
Unlike Team Rocket, Extreme Lance would absolutely kill if he felt justified.
All right, Bruno agreed immediately. He'd really just come to report anyway. Lance and his crew were clearly doomed.
There was no future with them. The real path forward was with Dylan.
Champion Dylan, can I challenge your gym? After finishing the serious talk, Bruno's hands were itching.
He joined the league to fight strong trainers and improve himself. Unfortunately, his colleagues had all turned out to be maniacs.
Of course you can. You want a challenge? Ha!
That's what I like to hear. Bruno grinned broadly, his aura radiating wild fighting spirit.
A battle with a strong opponent like Champion Dylan is bound to make me stronger. His beliefs were simple: battle. Bruno believed that both humans and Pokemon grow through the trials of combat.
He'd spent his life training in the mountains, growing alongside his fighting types through endless sparring and hardship.
To never stop moving forward. To always pursue greater heights.
To never be complacent.
That was Bruno. I'm looking forward to seeing your fighting type team. But first, let's see what type you'll be up against. Dylan gestured to the roulette wheel. Great.
It's just too bad you haven't built a fighting type team yet, Dylan.
I love fighting types, they pack a punch. Bruno pressed the button, slightly regretful.
A battle against Dylan's own fighting team would have been thrilling. I'll have one someday, Dylan replied with a small chuckle.
The wheel stopped. The pointer landed in a reddish-purple section, marked with a geometric hexagon symbol. Bruno went completely silent. That was the psychic-type symbol. He'd pulled psychic? Looks like your luck's not great today, Bruno. Dylan couldn't help but smile. Fighting types are weak against psychic types. This could be rough, Bruno muttered. It wasn't like he hadn't fought psychic types before. But, this time, his opponent was Dylan. Still, Bruno clenched his fists and nodded firmly. But Bruno, never backed down. He'd been through every kind of battle imaginable. Psychic types? Whatever.
At least it wasn't ghost types, those were his worst matchups.
But even against ghosts, Bruno had never given up. His mighty fighting Pokemon wouldn't flinch. That's the spirit. Just what I'd expect from a former Elite Four. Dylan praised him sincerely. Bruno had guts, and Dylan respected that. They stepped into the battle arena, each taking their positions. Now commencing the Rota Gym's official challenge match. Challenger, Bruno. Leaf raised a small flag and declared sweetly.
Bruno gave her a second look, not because of her looks, but because she had taken Lorelei's former position as the youngest Elite Four.
And now she was serving as Rota Gym's referee? Dylan really was something. Battle rules, 6v6 full match. Dylan goes first. Dylan cannot switch Pokemon. If all 6 of Dylan's Pokemon are defeated, the challenge is successful. Battle start. Leaf stepped off the field, and the scoreboard lit up.
I didn't expect Bruno to challenge Gym Leader Bro.
I wonder how many of his Pokemon will defeat Bros. Asha sat back, curious.
This was a showdown between the former Kanto Elite Four and the current champion Iconic.
Maybe 2? Bruno's champion tier, Yellow guessed.
Just beating one of the boss's Pokemon is a feat he got unlucky. Psychic counters fighting, Silver said calmly.
Psychic types are already hard to deal with, and for fighters, it's even worse. Honestly, Bruno might want to wash off some of that bad luck. Of all the types, he had to draw this? On the field. Since this is your first time challenging the Rota Gym, Bruno, allow me a formal introduction. Dylan smoothed the collar of his shirt and spoke in a calm, refined voice. I'm Dylan, leader of the Rota Gym. I specialize in multiple types. Today,
I'll be using my Psychic-type team to battle you. He pulled out a sleek black glove and slipped it on as a pokeball expanded in his palm. I'm sure you've faced Psychic types before. Their strength lies in mental power. Even without physical contact, they can crush foes with a thought. Mysterious and formidable, such are Psychic types. You're lucky, Bruno. Today, you get to experience their true power. Dylan's smile deepened as he tossed his pokeball. My first Pokemon will be NDD. A flash of white light, and a female NDD landed gently on the field, wearing a soft and calming smile. NDD? Bruno frowned and quietly slipped his Steelix's ball back into his belt. If he remembered right, NDD was Psychic/normal type. That meant it didn't resist fighting. Hitmonchan. Bruno threw his first Pokeball. A humanoid Pokemon landed with a thud. Red boxing gloves on its hands, brown torso, and plate-like crest atop its head. Hitmonchan. Deep Hitmonchan, fighting type, the punching Pokemon. Ability, Iron Fist. Moves, Focus Punch, Close Combat, Fire Punch, Ice Punch, Thunder Punch, Bullet Punch, Detect. Its fists could slice the air. Even a glancing blow could burn. Looks strong. Yellow tilted her head as she scanned the data. NDD, Dylan said gently. The psychic Pokemon raised both hands, a wave of mental energy spreading from her form. A violet light bathed the field. Psychic terrain activated. Psychic terrain boosts psychic moves and blocks priority attacks. Bruno's expression darkened. He'd hoped to use Fake Out or Bullet Punch to close the distance early, but with the terrain up, those options were now blocked. Hitmonchan, use Throat Chop. Bruno barked, and the battle began in earnest. Even if he had a disadvantage, Bruno wouldn't cower, he charged head-on. Trick Room. Dylan smiled faintly. Trick Room? Bruno blinked. His Hitmonchan wasn't exactly fast to begin with, and now it couldn't use priority moves. NDD created a glowing white cube between her hands. Just as Hitmonchan's shadowy fist closed in, the Trick Room expanded across the field. For a moment, the whole arena shimmered and twisted, then stabilized. Trick Room active. Bam! Hitmonchan's Throat Chop landed squarely, blasting NDD across the field. She cried out as she crashed to the ground, severely wounded. NDD's physical defense wasn't great, and that move hit hard. Don't let up. Hitmonchan, one more powerful Throat Chop. Bruno was in full battle mode now, his punches sharp, his eyes wild with excitement. Combat was bliss. Baton Pass. Just as Hitmonchan's shadowed fist flew again, NDD turned to light and returned to Dylan's Pokeball. Baton Pass. Bruno blinked. A Baton Pass, huh? Dylan's smile only grew deeper. No worries, Bruno. You're gonna love what comes next. I promise, this is going to be thrilling. That wraps up this part of What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.